Hello and welcome to another edition of RHOX Garage. I'm your host Kevin. On today's episode we're going to show you how to install our new Rhino seat kit, part number SEAT-451, with the optional safety grab bar, which is part number SEAT-688, on this 2013 Yamaha Drive. Now before we begin, we want to show you what's included with your new Rhino seat kit, as well as the tools necessary to perform the installation. Now here are the items that are included with your new Rhino seat kit. First up, we have the footplate assembly, as well as 2 footplate supports. Next, we have the vertical support bracket, followed by 2 front seat back support brackets, and also the horizontal alignment bar. You will also receive 2 handrails. Next, we have the rear seat support frame, and also included will be 2 rear seat back mounting brackets. Next up, we have the seat kit platform, which will transform into your utility deck. Now we have the rear seat bottom, as well as the rear seat back, followed by the seat bottom handle, and all of the necessary mounting hardware. Now here are the tools that we will be using throughout the installation. First up, we have the Phillips head screwdriver, followed by a set of Allen wrenches. Now these will need to be a 4mm and 5mm specifically, ratchet, 1/2-inch socket, a 10mm, 12mm, and 17mm socket, 1/2-inch, 10mm, 12mm, 13mm, and 17mm wrenches, a 3/8-inch drill bit, a cordless drill, and last up, a cordless impact. And now that we've discussed the tools that we will be using, we're ready to move on with the installation. Now the first thing we're going to do is to remove the hardware securing the rear struts to the top. Now there are 2 bolts located on each side of the top. Once removed, you're going to want to retain this hardware as it will be reused. If you're going to be keeping the original top in place, you're going to want to have a prop rod handy so that you can support the top during the rest of the installation. Now the first thing we're going to do is to remove the hardware securing the rear struts to the top. Now there are 2 bolts located on each side of the top. Once removed, you're going to want to retain this hardware as it will be reused. If you're going to be keeping the original top in place, you're going to want to have a prop rod handy so that you can support the top during the rest of the installation. Now the next thing we're going to do is to remove the hardware securing the drain gutter and drain seal to the rear struts. Now there will be 2 bolts located on the inside of each rear strut. Once removed, you're going to want to retain this hardware as well as the drain gutter and drain seal. Once you've removed the drain gutters, you can now remove the hardware that secures the front seat back in place. There will be 2 bolts located on each side of the seat back, and once this hardware has been removed, you're going to want to retain it as it will be reused later in the process. Now keep in mind, when removing this hardware, you only want to use hand tools and not power or air tools, as you could potentially damage the threads on the seat back. Now the next thing we're going to do is to remove the hardware that secures the rear struts to the sweater basket assembly. Now there will be 2 bolts located on each side, and once removed, you're going to want to retain that hardware as it will be reused later on in the process. Now if you're going to be keeping the original top, you're also going to want to retain the original struts as they will be reinstalled later on in the process as well. Once both bolts have been removed, you'll be able to completely remove the rear struts from the cart, and at this time you'll want to have your prop rod handy, as it will keep the top supported throughout the rest of the installation process. Now our next step is to remove the 2 plastic rivets that hold the access panel in place. Now as the name suggests, once the access panel is out of the way, it will give us access to the bolts we need to remove so that we can get the sweater basket assembly out of the way. Once you remove the 2 plastic rivets, you're going to want to retain them as they will be reinstalled once we put the access cover back on. Now, in order to remove the sweater basket assembly, we're going to need to remove the 2 bolts located on each side of the sweater basket assembly, which are covered up by the access panel. Once you have this hardware removed, you're going to want to retain it as it will be reused later on in the installation process. Now that all 4 bolts have been extracted, we can remove the sweater basket assembly. In order to do this, we just need to lift it up and away from the cart. Once removed, the sweater basket assembly can be discarded as it will not be reused. Now at this time, we're ready to begin installing the new components of our Rhino seat kit. Now first up, we're going to install the front seat back support brackets. Now these brackets do have a left and a right side. The way to tell them apart is the side with the captured nut should face towards the outside of the cart. Now once you have these identified, we're going to put them back into the original locations and secure them using the factory hardware. Now that we've installed one front seat back support bracket, we can install the other front seat back support bracket following these same steps. Now that we have both of our front seat back support brackets installed and the hardware is tight, we can reinstall the access panel cover and secure it using the 2 rivets that we removed earlier on. The next step is to install the vertical support bracket. Now before we can install our vertical support brackets, we need to remove 2 bolts that will be located here and here in the bagwell area. Once removed, we're going to take our 3/8 inch drill bit and drill these holes out. Now you're going to want to make sure that you drill the hole all the way through the frame of the cart so that the hardware can pass through cleanly. Now in this particular application, we've already gone ahead and done this process. Now once you have your holes drilled out, you're going to take your vertical support bracket with the mounting feet facing towards the front of the cart, locate the hardware in bag number 1 of your hardware kit, and you'll secure it in place loosely at this time. Now before we can install the seat kit platform, it's highly recommended that you take a piece of cardboard or soft foam to lay over the body of the cart to keep it from being scratched or damaged while installing the platform. Once you have that in place, you'll set the platform up on the cart, and using the hardware found in bag number 2 of your hardware kit, you'll secure it in place. Now there'll be 2 different size bolts found in bag number 2. The 10x30 bolts will be used in the front seat back support brackets, while the 10x25 bolts will be used in the vertical support brackets. You're only going to want to loosely install the hardware at this time. At this time, we're going to attach the safety grab bar to our footplate assembly. Now, if you're not going to be using a safety grab bar, you can feel free to skip this step. Now, before we can attach the safety grab bar to the footplate assembly, we need to drill out the 2 outermost holes on the footplate assembly to allow the hardware to pass through. Now you want to be sure that your safety grab bar is on the opposite side of the mounting points on the footplate assembly. Once you have your safety grab bar properly installed on the footplate assembly, we can install the entire assembly onto the cart. Now in order to properly do this, we're going to line the mounting holes up on the footplate assembly with the mounting holes on the vertical support bracket. We're going to secure it in place using the hardware found in bag number 3 of the hardware kit. Now we only want to loosely install the hardware at this time, as it will make it much easier to install the footplate supports that we'll show you how to install in just a little bit. Next, we're going to attach the handrails to the cart. Now in order to do this, you want to start with the long side of the handrail facing towards the rear of the cart. And we're going to take the upper mounting hole on the handrail and line it up with the furthest most hole on the seat kit platform. We're going to secure it in place using the Phillips head bolt, flat washer, and lock nut found in bag number 4 of our hardware kit. Now it's important to note that all of the hardware that we're going to use to attach the handrails in the next few steps can be located in bag number 4 of your hardware kit. It's also important to remember that during these next few steps, we want to leave the hardware hand tight until we have the handrails completely installed, at which point we'll come back and tighten everything down. Once you have your first handrail attached, you can move over to the other side and install the other handrail in the same fashion. So now that we have our handrails loosely installed, the next thing we're going to do is to attach the footplate supports. Now in order to do this, we're going to slide the support up onto the handrail, lining up all of our mounting points and security in place using the 10x80 bolts that again are located in bag number 4 of your hardware kit. Now that we have the footplate supports attached, our next step is to install the rear seat support frame. Now the rear seat support frame installs on the inside of the seat kit platform and will be secured in place using the 10x70 bolts located in bag number 4 of our hardware kit. Now it's important to note that when installing the hardware through the upper mounting holes on the handrail and the rear seat support frame, you want to make sure to install the plastic spacer that's provided in between so that you don't get any unwanted metal on metal contact. Once you have all of your hardware in place, the next step is to go back and tighten everything down. Now at this time we're ready to reinstall the factory front seat back. Now we're going to use the original bolts that we removed from the seat back earlier in the process. Again, please keep in mind that we don't want to use power or air tools as we don't want to damage the threads on the seat back. Now that we have our front seat back attached, our next step is to install the horizontal alignment bar using the hardware that is located in bag number 6 of our hardware kit. Now before we can attach the rear seat back to the cart, we need to install the rear seat back mounting brackets. Now before we can do this, we need to identify which side of the rear seat back is up. Now, the notch out in the seat back will be the side that faces up. So as you can see how I'm holding the seat, this is going to be the up portion of the seat. Once you've identified which way is up, you want to take the rear seat back mounting bracket, take the hook side of the seat back mounting bracket and have it facing down or opposite of the notch in the seat back. You're going to line the mounting holes up on the seat back bracket with the holes on the seat back and secure it in place using the hardware provided in bag number 5 of our hardware pack. Now also remember, when tightening the hardware, you only want to use hand tools. Please do not use power or air tools as you don't want to damage the bolt or the threads on the seat back. Next, we're going to install the rear seat bottom cushion. Now to do this, we're going to locate the cutouts on the underside of the rear seat bottom. We're also going to locate the mounting tabs on the seat kit platform. We're going to line these cutouts up with these mounting tabs, and once lined up, it will allow us to slide the rear seat bottom into place. Now once you have the rear seat bottom installed, the next thing we're going to do is to install the rear seat bottom handle. Now to do this, you want to fold your seat kit platform over. Locate the 2 threaded holes at the very end of the platform. You're going to locate the seat kit handle as well as the 2 Phillips head screws that are located in bag number 5 of your hardware kit. And you're going to attach the handle to these 2 threaded holes at the very end of your seat kit platform. Now it's very important that you remember to install the rear seat bottom handle, as not only will it assist you with opening and closing your seat kit platform, but it's also what's going to keep the rear seat bottom locked into place. Now since we're going to be reinstalling the original top, at this time we're going to reinstall the original rear struts. Now if you're going to be installing an extended top, you're going to be using different struts, and the following steps won't apply to you, so you can feel free to skip these steps. Now the first thing we're going to do is to remove the prop rod that we have supporting our roof, as it will no longer be needed. Now when it comes to reinstalling the rear struts, I recommend installing the hardware, the upper portion of the strut, into the top first, as this will make it much easier to install the hardware into the front seat support bracket. Once you have both rear struts reinstalled, the next thing we're going to do is to reinstall the factory drain gutter and drain seals using the original bolts that we removed earlier in the process. With the drain gutters and drain seals now reinstalled, the last thing we want to do is to go back and double check all of our hardware, making sure we didn't leave anything loose by accident during the installation process. Once we verified all hardware is tight and secure, that'll complete the installation of our new Rhino seat kit, part number SEAT-451, with the optional safety grab bar, part number SEAT-688, on this 2013 Yamaha Drive. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.